Good morning, Lagos. Thank you very much indeed for staying tuned. If you're on your way to work, don't be too sad. You had a holiday yesterday. It's time for Freshly Pressed 981, and this is when we analyze national news headlines from across the nation. We have a few stories here, but before then, I'd like to say a big welcome to our analysts. But my name is Ayo.
My name is Valentine.
Thank you very much for coming, Ugo. You heard his voice earlier on during Business Express 981.
Hi.
You can find Ugo at Ugo Dre on Twitter. We have Adenike Oyetunde. Good morning, Adenike.
Good morning.
Good morning. You can find Adenike Oyetunde on Twitter. And we have Barrister Funmi Odude.
So me, I'm not a barrister. Well, it's not a title, actually.
What?
It's not a title.
It's not a
title.
Don't ever say that in Nigeria. I am broadcaster. I am Mairo-Ese. Funmi is at Funmi Odude on Twitter. And
Analysts to Ugo Dre.
The one that actually a journalist rejected.
Important.
Mm,
All right,
like
you can
that.
join the conversation, our listeners, listener A and B, at on through our various platforms on WhatsApp, on Twitter, and also streaming live on YouTube. WhatsApp number is
WhatsApp number 0809-444-0981. That is 0809-444-0981.
and on Twitter it's at Smooth981 FM. Use the hashtag Freshly Pressed 981. Our first story.
All right, so we'll start with this story about the National Youth Service Corps. I'll come to you, I think. Excited for this story? I don't know. But it talks about the age, especially for, relating to people who are guilty of presenting overage graduates for mobilization for the NYSC. Take us through the story. As the National Youth Service Corps says, it has decided to henceforth include the date of birth on corps member certificates.
Okay, so if you're from out of town and do not know what NYSC is a program that was started in 1973 primarily to foster integration and so that students can go across wherever it is, the length and breadth of the country to learn a number of things. And from that time up until now, some people have found themselves seeking exemptions for several reasons. They're over 30 because the NYSC says that once you finish your undergrad and you're above 30 years old, it means that you can no longer participate in the 1-year mandatory service. So if you're over 30, if you served to be a police officer, you served in you are what's it called? There are about 4. You're a current member of the security service, intelligence, or you have a national honors. It means that you can no longer serve. Now, the DG of NYSC, Brigadier Shuaib Ibrahim, stated at the Batch B pre-mobilization workshop that the scheme, I beg your pardon, has observed that some tertiary institutions has not been guilty of presenting overage graduates for mobilization. And that one of the things that they're going to start to do is to include the dates of birth on the certificate as WIEC is doing and as the exemption certificates also do have. Now, he's saying that one way they can curtail this is by ensuring that every matriculation list from every producing university must be presented to the NYSC every year so that the NYSC at the end of the 4 or 5 year, however long it is, understands and knows the number of people that they're expecting to matriculate, to graduate, and to proceed on to the service, and that is supposed to reduce it. Well, it's good, but on the in the bigger picture, I have several questions. Quite a number of people who are graduating from the university over 30 have not done it by any fault of theirs. There are many contributory factors. Education. See the latest JAM results. The best student cannot be admitted into university because it's under 16, and the university law says that they will not give you admission. So in such an instance, are we going to start to expand our laws so that if you're 15 years old, or we're just going to leave you at 16? Entry age. Another one is the time it takes for these people to graduate from university. All the things that contribute, strike here and there, whatever it is. It's insufficient for the NYSC boss to see this. I understand what he's saying because the mago has become so obvious. And it's not far from Kemi Adeosun.
Oh, all right.
People, it's come up again. So it's a good thing that he's trying to say, okay, for us to keep to track. But the question is the NYSC ready? Are they going to be computerized? Are they ready to stop collecting all these papers? If you go to NY, if you see the number of paperwork that we have to do, I served when I'm still a young child, like 17 years ago. So I like it, but bigger questions. Are we going to ensure that we move from the manual process to indeed digital.
Don't we
Very,
just have a
very
trust
important
problem?
questions. Although
We exactly.
in this country.
I'm curious about something too. You know, if you notice the aversion people have had towards NYSC, you would expect
that people wouldn't even want to go.
Exactly. So imagine that. I mean, it's assumed that exemption certificates can be taken in lieu of the NYSC certificate. So why are
It's
older
supposed
people
to be
going-
that way because for you to be
for the
exempted,
You don't
you
want to
have
collect minimum wage.
I was going to
Exactly.
say, it's the reality of the poverty
So that's another
and the
question
lack
there.
of employment.
Oh.
At least you're guaranteed that whether you
At
find
least
a
for the
place
next
or-
1 year. I mean, like
Eh,
something comes in.
19,800. Are you
No.
joking?
It's now 30.
All right, thank you.
For NYC.
Oh,
Me
that's
there.
okay. Yeah, minimum wage.
My gosh.
Yeah.
You know, it did not even occur to me that they are Oh my God, Jumoke, where is my money?
Next story. Let's look at this one from the Guardian newspaper. And that what happened yesterday is a trending story. So Sanwo-Olu, pronounce the name well. No?
Yes.
Sanwo-Olu pledges loyalty to Lagos development's blueprints despite challenges. This is from the Guardian newspaper. Adenika, I'll stick with you for this one because I know you're very passionate about Lagos and its interest. Now, we know what happened. We know that there was a master plan laid down by his predecessors. But what's curious in this story for me is that he pledged to continue with
Oh my gosh.
Bola
I was
Tinubu
going to say that.
and Babatunde Fashola legacies.
As he
I
would
don't see how
remain
many-
loyal to the aspirations of the people and develop the development blueprints that has brought success to the state. I feel like Sanwo-Olu was handpicked by the people in court, and don't get me started, please. And without a doubt, this statement just added fuel to whatever else any other person had been saying about his relationship in court between the immediate governor.
Predecessor, yes.
And it bothered me when I heard that part, because everybody just felt, okay, yeah, we already suspected that his allegiance was with the Jagaban, but now it's glaring that he's telling everybody, you people don't waste your time, it is this, skip this, and then me. Whatever it is, politics always comes to bear. I just hope that he can handle whatever it is that he's going to do. He's asked us to give him 60 days. His 60 days started.
So 60 days to solve the
the gridlock.
The gridlock, yes,
Papa. It started yesterday actually, and he mentioned quite a number. Now the challenges with the development blueprint is where I'm not sure. I don't understand what he's going to do, because it means that, as we already suspect, quite a number of people. Let's take structures.
Yes.
Quite a number of structures would have to be pulled down. Where my parents stay, somebody sold the land that where the water canal is supposed to move to someone, and you find out that the persons that bought the property are retired persons. So what happens in that regard? Sanwo-Olu is excited about being governor. Nobody can tell you otherwise. You do this just doing sign language. Yeah, what's up? But and her hopes are high. My hopes are high. But I feel like he needs to, hit the ground running. He's appointed people that, his chief of staff, as the days come back, I was saying that his birthday is next month. Now we'll see how the newspapers, all of that will come to bear. But Sanwo-Olu must remember that it's such a huge task. He's been faced with the traffic, filth, dirt, waste management, waste disposal.
Yes.
He must have a sustainable development team. Who's going to talk about plastic? Who's going to talk about paper packaging?
He has actually released the focus areas on that theme.
Yes.
I'm sure THEME talked about, and all these points you've mentioned. He's included. Yes,
I mean,
he's
I didn't
included.
get
Affordable
You
housing.
spoke with him
Mr.
not more than 2 months ago.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, from the enthusiasm he expressed at the time, were you convinced to believe that now that he's been inaugurated as the governor of Lagos State, that enthusiasm can be translated to practicality?
When I did speak with him, I actually did share my sentiments on the fact that I didn't want the fire to die. And he looked me in the eyes and assured me that I'm going to do my best. And I spoke very, very specifically about persons living with disability in Lagos.
Yes.
Good.
And because that's something that I'm very passionate about, I did tell him categorically that I actually did sue the Office of Disability, because as we speak, there is a 2015 law that still hasn't taken effect.
Yes.
So he went on and on about what they're going to do. And from that standpoint, I'm hoping that something, positive happens. Mr. Sanwo-Olu, like Ayob mentioned, has everything he wants to do in themes and It goes
Looks
beyond
very
that.
good.
It goes beyond that. Just continue, please.
My only worry is continuity. I don't know how.
I'm
you
hoping
feel
that he
about
doesn't
that.
stop the good, because let's be honest, his immediate predecessor did some things. So let him not do like the predecessor and just cut down.
Like the bus terminal.
I don't know
some
what
other-
to
Don't
do.
forget in the statement, or according to the reports, they
EG.
mentioned he
Of
would
the same
continue
things.
the legacies of Bola Tinubu and Fashola and omitted a
Ambode.
name.
Because we
so
don't
let's-
want continuity
Could that
of
be
the
the
past
reason
4
why
years.
Ambode was
I'm
not
sorry,
at
I
the
don't want
inauguration?
continuity of the
Excuse
past 4
me,
years.
are you saying that former governor Ambode did not do anything?
He did.
We did a lot.
We actually analyzed
About
that
492 projects, right?
Yes.
Anyway,
Huh?
let's. Yeah.
All right, let's take some comments. We need to drink some water, especially Adenike and Funmi. All right, so good morning, all. This NYSC news is a good development. Most of these overage people are the ones who create problems during NYSC. They are mostly the ghost corpers, and you can't find them until the POP because they have their businesses or jobs, but you want the certificate. Have a great day, y'all.
Here's an exclusive that got a lot of people thinking this was drama, but it seemed real. But I see that the report mentioned nearly crashed as a phrase used in this story. But I know that, well, let's go through the details for me, because on the Premium Times, the report says that my experience on Ethiopian airline nearly crashed in Lagos, and that's talking about the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo. In the details, it brings to bear the kind of fear that
Why is this
the kind
news?
of emotion. Hang on.
Why is this news, right?
Because it was Obasanjo, right? So that's one. It exposes the amount of the kind of emotion that grips us as Nigerians when we fly. The almost seeming lack of trust that we have for our airlines and the airports, and just small rain fell. And
No, it's not just small rain.
What
Overnight
happened?
rain. There was a
Thunderstorm.
crash landing. The guy didn't crash land properly. He had to take off immediately again to try and come back and land again.
continue.
It was a very scary Okay, let's stop making fun of this. It was a scary experience. Although our former president said he wasn't afraid. In fact,
That he was reading the
his
papers.
neighbor was tapping him.
Are you not
"Oga, you're
sorry?"
not shaking, all those kind of things. But more importantly, why is this news and what do we have to learn from it? Okay, so I think that this is a wake-up call, not just for the leaders on one respect, and those of us that feel, should I say, that we like to think we're among the middle class, that we think that we can sort of cushion ourselves from the effects of what's happening in Nigeria by, building that fancy security gates, electric one, buying jeeps. We have a way of thinking that, our middle class status would prevent some things from actually happening. I mean, we can afford the private hospitals as opposed to going to the dilapidating health centers and all of that. One way or the other, I think Isaiah Songoro that likes to say Nigeria will kill you. And so there are some things you cannot avoid. And this is an example. And it's a former president. So the question is, I wonder why the neighbor that tapped him didn't ask him, Oga, how much in the 8 years that you were there?
Why you not flying
what
private
was our
jets?
airline?
Because he wasn't
Well,
giving
aviation
us- he wasn't
sector.
Well,
about
the
that
real
today.
story here actually is, because you were saying why is this a story? It's a story because Obasanjo actually came out to deny. Actually said he don't fly, the inside plane or you didn't house for Ogun State. So why they say the inside plane? So that's why I'm just surprised. Yeah,
Thank you.
it was on BBC. He said he did not say he was not.
You see now?
So it's kind of confusing. So we're like who now said he was there? So the
They
story
actually
is
put
that
it as an
hey,
exclusive, so-
reporters, journalists, please,
because
like,
it's on every
what
national-
exactly
When I
is the
saw
real
this thing
story?
downstairs, I asked Valentine, why are they reporting this?
Yes.
Because I saw pictures and footage from Baba just when, and it didn't look like someone that just came back from.
Right.
No, but if
He didn't go.
denying it is a serious thing.
It's even worse.
Because
it
and he
is
was
an
even quoted.
exclusive from Premium Times.
Yeah, and they said he
Premium
was
Times
quoted.
said Obasanjo said.
So I mean,
With even
alright.
dialogue.
that's the real story here.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Very interesting. Somebody asked me a similar question on my last flight. So why are you so calm?
What do you want to do?
I don't know exactly.
David Taylor talking about Sanwo-Olu says, I wish Sanwo-Olu well. He should ensure he accomplishes at least 80% of his promises to Lagosians. Traffic management is key to a vibrant Lagos economy. Then fixing the Lagos-Badagry Express is key to him. He promised to fix it.
I like how you stressed it. Promise. a promise is the easiest thing to break, though. Moving on to the Daily Times, we have this publication here, Ugo, this about second tenure. We're still on that matter. Buhari takes oath of office, keeps mom on agenda, which was the most curious thing that sparked a lot of reactions yesterday from opposition, from everybody. He says he was silent on the agenda. Recall that in 2015 there was a very famous quote by him: "I belong to everyone, I belong to nobody." But as he took the oath of office at exactly 10:38 a.m., himself and the vice president were there at the Eagle Square, but there was no address whatsoever. Well, take us through the story, especially with the accounts from different states.
Yeah, Valentine. So 4 years ago, when he said he belongs to nobody and anybody or whatever, a lot of us didn't understand what he was saying. Do you get? We didn't know. We thought that
in the news for
we didn't know that he was actually telling us that he belongs to the so, and true to the word, he's out of the country again. So he doesn't belong to anyone. So no surprises here. This is next level, like they claim. So yeah, there's probably nothing to say. The government basically is going to double down on what it's been doing over the last 4 years, which is basically pushing on with its social investment programs, going on a debt binge, borrowing money just so that you can finance capital expenditure, a lot of other anti-corruption. I really don't see anything different here. And if you know Buhari very well, he's this person who likes to just go on with what he hardly likes to change things. This is the first time we've ever seen a president go through an entire cabinet without changing, at least since democracy in '99. I have never seen that happen before. So we've seen it 4 years, ministers no change, same ministers all through, apart from
the Minister of Finance, and Minister of
those that had
those who
that
took
issues.
up appointments. Yes.
So or took up appointment exactly. So he hardly changes. So I don't expect anything different. Nigerians are a little disappointed. We expected some kind of speech. I'm like, what speech did you want to hear again? He just spoke to us the other day. 20 years. You did not do.
Could this speech that he didn't take yesterday, could it be said to have been taken 3 days ago? Before, when he said
that's what I'm saying now.
People who call him Baba Go Slow this time around, they're going to be disappointed because a lot of action.
He's right now he's on a private jet, so it's not going to be slow anymore. But to be serious here, I wasn't expecting anything tangible from any speech, so it was okay that he didn't even give any at all. We just want action, that's all. So like we were saying downstairs, like we're now at the stage where there's no hope. So anything that you get out of this government that's positive, you actually
part of the action should actually be giving us some idea, some blueprints, we have people are already holding some hold to his promises. We have no agenda. We have
next level.
How big is that? What is next level?
It's they haven't seen their next level documents.
The ones that they have what else are you people looking for?
Let me take this comment from Shegun. Shegun is agreeing with Funmi. He says, "Good morning. Even abusive Trump will address the Americans. President Buhari has not treated us well." All right, let's move on from inauguration matters and go on to the economy. Ugo, I'll stay with you for this one. Pension assets hit 9.03 trillion. This report is from this day, and they go on to talk about the assets investment. That's the interesting part of this report. Can you please take us through this?
Yeah, so Nigerian total pension assets, that's total amount of our pensions that are invested currently, is valued at about 9 trillion, up from 7 trillion in January this year. So that's quite good. Typically, you expect most of the pension funds to go into infrastructure development across any country. For most Western economies, pension funds is basically what helps the economy grow, because they basically invest that money in long-term projects that end up benefiting everyone down the road. So, but in Nigeria, it's different. So pension assets is basically invested in government securities, and government securities is essentially government borrowing.
Yeah.
And so from what you have here, about 73% of that money, of this 9 trillion, 6.5 trillion, is in government securities like bonds and loans and all of that. So what you ask yourself is, as a pension contributor, is okay, so what are they using my pension money for?
Exactly.
So the government is borrowing it. So if you go and look at how government spends that money, you realize that a lot of that money is going into recurrent expenditure. So you're asking yourself, is this actually what to spend, right? So you want to see a lot of that money go into capital expenditure, basically.
Another thing is that you want to ensure that at the end of it all, you can get your money when it's time to get the money.
When it's time to get it, yeah. So, and one thing people people tend to gloss over as well is the performance of pension funds, because they usually don't report that. They just tell you pension fund is not 8 trillion, it's not
Very
9,
true.
but the performance. So is it actually growing? Is it coming about 15% yield returns annually or what? I don't think so. Pension funds growth has actually been flat over the last 4, 5, 6 years, at least since I've been tracking it. And one worrying thing though with our pension fund, the contributors themselves. Did you know that about less than 10% of people who contribute pensions in Nigeria are aged less than 30? Yeah. So in fact, there are just about 800,000 Nigerians under 30 that contribute to pension. Very, very small, and that's actually a big sign that the youth generation actually unemployed in this country. So a lot of them are crying out, and you actually need them to contribute pension, because those are the guys that have, they keep contributing. You know the way pension works. So the younger contribution and long
term it is. Thank you very much, Ugo. Adenike, looking at health in Lagos State, in particular, and breast cancer, Lagos gets 2 mammography centers. Great news here from the Vanguard newspaper. We've talked about a few times on the show the fact that we don't have facilities or infrastructure in our health service or in the health sector. Can you please take us through this story?
Okay, so the CMD of Isolo General Hospital, I'm going to quote him. He says, we are grateful for this development and thanking the people who contributed and their partners.
Yes.
Saying that they have tremendously added not just to this hospital but to Nigeria as a whole, adding 2 new mammography centers in Lagos, and that's a huge addition. If you never know how dire these things are until someone close to you is in need. I paid a visit to Luth, 2-3 weeks ago, and to see a friend's daughter under 10. And I was shocked to find out that one of the tests that they were asked to do, I can't remember the name right now, was not conducted there. So they had to take the sample outside of the hospital. And it got me worrying, because if there's a presumption that in government hospitals, in general hospitals, in teaching hospitals, Luth Medic Lag and all of that,
should be one of the most funded and
I was very shocked when I found that. So when I read this, I was excited. It's and they're claiming, well, the hope is that it will help aid the prevention of late stage presentation of diseases and aid treatment follow-up of patients. So without a doubt, I know there's going to be a long list. We're over how many million, and across the country, you can bet that, ordinarily in each local government area, each LCD should have at least 1 or 2, but that's not the case. It's also interesting that sometime last year, the former First Lady, alongside some other partners, actually launched the very first mammogram coach, mobile one. And the question is, how many women and men know about these things? Because sometimes we feel like it's only women.
For breast
men,
cancer,
exactly.
Yes.
So you also need to get it checked. You feel something, you're feeling funky, just go check it. I'm excited they're doing this, because at the end of the day, it's also to reduce the cost for people.
Yes.
It costs a whole lot, when you're talking about cancer care and treatment. And if you want mammogram, well, we're glad that they did it, and many more should come up.
Thank you very much indeed. All right, Ugo, I'm back to you again. Federal government social safety programs gulps 471 billion naira in 3 years. From the Punch newspaper, today you are a money man, and all things money was coming to you for that. But it's been reported that a total of 470.8 billion naira has been released by the federal government in the last 3 years for the implementation of its social safety program. They've mentioned programs like NPAR, conditional cash transfers, and the likes. Can you please touch on this story?
This is an astronomical amount for 470 billion, in naira, basically giving out, as handouts, to in quote the poor. Some were giving out as loans that, who knows, might never ever be recorded. The interesting thing is that, as much as it's 470, it actually was supposed to be over 1 trillion naira. Based on budget, but because we haven't been able to generate that much revenues, we've only just paid for 71 billion. So imagine if it was 1 trillion. So like I said earlier, I don't expect to see anything different from the Buhari government. This is going to happen. They're going to continue with this, and Buhari believes that just give money directly to the poor rather than to the elites in quotes, like
Yeah.
you would say. I don't know. I don't think it's a trust issue. It's just a belief issue. So he's more socialist inclined, and these are the kind of things, projects that he likes. So you expect that they're going to sustain this over the next 4 years. It's going to happen. In fact, if you go down the story, they are saying that there's even a bill that they're working on and that they're hoping that will pass that would basically just legalize this completely. So it's not just about being a government policy. So now they want it
So even it will outlive
to outlive this current government. So it's a bit like the social security system you have like in the US and some other Western countries, where if you live below a certain level, then the government just hands you a paycheck. So this is what they're trying to institutionalize here.
But for the level of poverty that we have in this nation, don't you think this is having a social safety net is important, is key for survival of many Nigerians?
It is, but how do you fund it? Like, are you going to fund it from pension funds, like I said earlier, or are you going to keep funding it from loans? So how are you going to fund this? Because already, I was reading a research report last night, and it's still happening. Nigeria still gets about 50 to 60% of its budgeted revenue. That's what we get. So if we budget to raise 5 trillion, we only get about 2.5 trillion. And guess what? We pay about 80 to 90% of our revenues as debt services. So where are you going to get this money to fund these things from? So that's where the problem is. There's nothing wrong with having social investment, security schemes, but do you have the money to actually fund it? And that's the problem.
George from Twitter says speeches mean little in Nigeria. Action is what we need. And then Funsha says on WhatsApp he will make speech on the 12th of June.
Perhaps. All right, we'll go to you for this one, Funmi. Thank you very much. Tobacco Control Group's jubilant as National Assembly approves draft regulations. Premium Times says that the Nigerian tobacco control advocates have described Tuesday's approval of the draft National Tobacco Control Regulations by the Senate and House of Representatives as the most befitting health legacy of the 8th National Assembly. True or false?
Okay, so let me start by saying we have a National Tobacco Control Act which was signed in 2015 by former President Goodluck Jonathan, but it's one of those kind of laws that I feel was passed through in a way to satisfy both sides of the divide.
Okay.
So yes, there's a Control Act, but the Control Act itself, to implement it, it always needs parliamentary approvals for whatever regulations that they need to put in place. So for a long time, since 2015, there's been zero implementation because they needed to go back to the National Assembly to get regulations. And so this is what has been done now by the 8th National Assembly. According to the story, some of the regulations that were passed would address licensing of tobacco products and the duration of the license, the sizes of the pictographs and graphic health warnings on tobacco packs, and all of that. The regulations would just help us. It would improve our standing on with respect to the WHO's framework convention on tobacco control. So it's a way to just put the law that we have passed into effect. We passed a law that still required us to go back to the lawmakers. It really does not make sense to me, but this was the way of putting the law into effect.
Thank you very much.
Timida on WhatsApp says from Third Mainland Bridge, morning Uncle Jay and Buki. PMB should just watch it if you want. No, it's a very distasteful message, please. Jerry says, Baba didn't say anything because he wouldn't want to be held to it again, as nothing is going to change at all. Pessimism there. Yinka says, Ugo, stop it all. What are they funding from pension fund? Please don't go putting ideas in your head. Bengus says, much ado about the president not making an inauguration speech. Would he have said anything new? We have made a speech. Can we please focus on the state governors and hold them accountable? We're always carried away by what happens at the center when we forget the state. Let us focus on Sanwo-Olu's speech yesterday.
All right, thank you very much indeed for your speeches in the way of comments. Thank you to those who also sent in messages on Twitter and of course on YouTube as well. A big thanks to our analysts in the studio. Thank you, Funmi at Funmi Odude. Thank you, Adenike at Adenike Oyetunde, and of course thank you, Ugo at Ugo Dre on Twitter. You can follow us collectively at Smooth 91 FM and continue the conversation online. But right now we'll go on the break. When we come back, it'll be time to find out what's happening in the entertainment world on the grapevine. Stay tuned.